Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Girl.
Ruben Bressler.
I don't have any tea set aside. It's not so much tea this week, so much as it's blaringly hot. Just coming straight out of the slag heap.
I mean, there's sipping tea, and then there's having the Gatorade of tea. You know, at the football games.
Yeah. There's too much that happened. Evan, you needed to not be sick yesterday so that we could cover a reasonable week's amount of news last week, and then we could have done another show just today.
Just about today's news.
Just today.
Yeah.
I was so worried too. Like when you said you were calling out yesterday.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what are we gonna talk about? And then Wizards was like, hold my beer.
Right. Oh my God. All right. Well, we get started with our trumpet blast. You can get one if you support us at our highest level of Patreon, and we have one this week from our good friend Adrian C. He notes, congratulations to WotC and Chris Cox for their top-notch idea of upping the prize levels for Mythic Championships in the Magic Pro League. Dagger eyes to WotC and Chris Cox for not telling the community that the money was being siphoned away from everything in Magic that made it more than just a card game. Our love, admiration, and thanks goes out to Rich Hagon, Marshall Sutcliffe, and everyone else on the coverage team who are out there looking for more predictable income streams now that WotC has essentially forced them to eat table scraps or not eat at all.
Wow.
And we're going to get
Adrian, buddy.
Hey, stick it in and break it off.
Putting blast and trumpet blast.
That's right.
We have
good use of that.
Good use of that. Okay, so let's see here. We have our giveaway, a $50.
If you want to have your opinions spouted to the masses by Evan Irwin's lovely voiceover there, then you can also give us a blast at our Patreon page.
I did not do this last week, which I should have. So we're going to give away a booster box of Ravnica Allegiance. How about that? How about some of that? Let's give away a booster box.
Great.
Hold on. It's not running yet. We're not there yet, I don't think. It doesn't seem like there's one live.
I don't think so. You should tweet about that, too.
Yes, we will tweet about that. You guys go ahead and talk.
We can introduce the topic.
If you want to go ahead and talk about the Mythic Invitational, and I'll go ahead and get some of the details fixed.
Okay. Do you want to take the lead, Aaron, or should I?
You go first.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody. It's Ruben Bressler. I'm the new main person who's going to be your narrator while Evan fixes everything. Okay. So the Magic Arena Mythic Invitational, we were told was going to be announced, quote unquote, sometime in January, towards the end of last year, with details coming in January. And they announced it with about 12 hours left in January, today at noon or 10 a.m. or something like that. In an article today called the MTG Arena Mythic Invitational, which gave us more details in that $1 million invitational kickoff event that's happening for the Magic Pro League, with $250,000 going to first place. So lots of things happened here. We got the invite list, which included the Magic Pro League, and also an extended list of invitees, special invitees, you might say, which included a lot of names that you will probably recognize, and also announced that the top 8 constructed players from the February Mythic rankings on MTG Arena will also be invited. By the way, I finished 968th this season, no big deal in work. So I only need to be 960 better next month to earn my invite to the Mythic Invitational.
Watch out.
Which, by the way, you have 28 days, because February is that short month, if you forgot about that part.
Oh, boy.
To get one of those 8 slots, you can download the game and play it and, see if you can win a bunch of coin flips in the last 4 hours of the season to try to make it to top 8, because I've tried this grind in Hearthstone before. It ain't good news. So 64 players are going to be competing for $1 million. Minimum prize payout is $7,500. So you go and lose all your matches. You pull an Aaron Campbell on the VSL this week. Hey, yo.
Ooh. Ooh.
I hate
That's still going to be 7,500 clams, 7,500 buccarinos in your back pocket.
That was good.
They also announced the tournament structure, which is going to be called Duo Standard, which is an early front runner for format of the year for this year's Magic Mike season. essentially a different kind of 3-game format, but it's a 2-deck format. There are no sideboards because sideboards are what's the quote? Hold on.
The quote is, sideboarding is, quote, too difficult a skill for esports fans to master.
Are you serious?
That's the real sentence.
Y'all stupid is what they're saying. Y'all stupid. So that's what that's going to be. It's going to be all constructed, I believe.
Right. It's going to be all standard. You're going to bring 2 decks. The decks can be the same ones, and I'm curious how many pros just bring the same 2 decks because they practice 1 deck period and that's it. But
here's what I would do is I would bring sideboarded version of my deck. Right? I would just bring Hydroid Krasis Sultai and then like the version of that's good in the mirror as my second deck. Right?
Because you randomly play one of the decks as game 1. And then for game 2, you're going to play the other deck that you didn't play with, okay? And in game 3, you can choose the deck that you play with for game 3, and who goes first is randomized. So that's kind of how that works. But $250,000 to first place is a real thing. And for those who are trying to qualify via Magic Arena, it's weird, but like, good friend Saffron Olive had to mention, don't hurt yourself, y'all. Don't.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
It's super difficult.
Exhausting. It's difficult. I've seen people say that it's almost impossible to do if you have any sort of full-time commitments like school or work. It is something. It sounds like you're really gonna have to devote yourself to.
Oh yeah. This is where you'll do the last 16 hours of that run. Like you have to basically play nonstop and hope to God that you get good draws and you get good matchups and whatever, because whoever makes 9th place from this is just going to have the most unbelievable feel bad. It's going to be insane.
It's this is dangerous stuff. We've seen this in Hearthstone before. They did this exact same thing with their ladder setup maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it led to dangerous health conditions for some folks. This is no joke. They went away from this style for the Hearthstone ladder. It's going to be interesting to see how long it's going to take for Magic, but I do not anticipate that, hoping to win a bunch of coin flips in the last 4 hours of the grind is going to be the way that you qualify going forward. Oh
my God. And the Nexus player holding you hostage is a thing that and we'll get to that later, which is unbelievable. But either way, there is a way for you to just play the game and get airfare and hotel and a PAX badge for you and a guest to play in an event where you're bringing home $7,500 at the worst, which is pretty freaking great. That said, we have to address the fact of who was invited and who was not invited. And Lord knows there's no good way to sort of explain, person A got invited because of reasons. Person B didn't get invited because of other reasons. What are those reasons? I don't know. This is very Silver Showcasey in that a hand from on high has decided who is going to be in an event. Now, an event like this, where you're playing Magic for $250,000, all of the time, I mean, we're talking, 25 years of history. When it comes to Magic and earning big money for playing Magic, it's all about the skill. It's all about the best player. It's very merit-based. It is the best player wins. The best player gets the spoils. The best players get to play in the biggest events, instead of Wizards decides who gets to play in these events because reasons and we said so, or because they're friends with so-and-so. This feels like, in some ways, there's the Cool Kids Club, and if you're not in the Cool Kids Club, then you're not going to be able to make it, because you have names in Magic streaming who their livelihood is Magic streaming. You have the Jim Davises, you have Caleb Durward, you have Jeff Hoagland, you have these people who are dedicating their existence and are not getting invites. And no matter who got invites and who didn't, there would always be, why didn't XYZ get it? Why didn't Brian Kibler get one, for example?
Of course.
That's always going to come up. And I'm not trying to hate in any way on those who got it. I'm super happy for you. Congratulations. Go Absolutely. Crush it. That's awesome. But Wizards has waited to the last second to create complete chaos with the coverage situation that we'll get to have a tournament with no idea what you're doing supposed to matter, to completely ignore any and all YouTube creators, by the way. Notice that no YouTube creators are on there. That's 100% streamers, Twitch, whatever. You can see where they're putting their laser focus on, versus those who had worked a long time making those types of videos. And it's awkward, and it comes to this sort of weird head where BBD explains, like, I can't be excited about it because I'm going to get hated on because I'm part of this event and they're not. But it's weird because this is like the most successful he's ever been at making, playing Magic for a living, making content for a living. And yet he's kind of put in a situation where people are kind of upset because so-and-so got to play in it and so-and-so didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's perplexing to say the least. The other thing that is an odd context clue here is that the announcement was delayed by a couple of hours today, which further feeds the conspiracy that this was all slapdash put together. Oh, right, we told people we were going to tell people by the end of January. How much time do we have left?
Exactly.
Kind of deal. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that they just simply waited for 2 hours to be able to roll it out informationally the way that they wanted to, be able to clarify things they wanted to. Perhaps there were some players on the invite list that they were waiting to hear back from to make sure that they were in or that they weren't in, and they needed to, fill out the invite list going forward or something like that. That's my hope. But it's just another in a long line of examples of why wasn't this announced 2 weeks ago? Why wasn't this announced a month ago? Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, it's been troubling to see a lot of the negativity. At least two of the women who were invited have since locked their Twitter accounts. Jessa Stephan and Maffer MTG were both targets of harassment campaigns, which is unfortunate because this was a huge win for us. Autumn Burkett was invited, Amazonian was invited, many people who we really want to see on the big stage, and that was really exciting. I think, you mentioned being perplexed with who got chosen, and I think instead of comparing it to something like a Pro Tour, Evan, you had mentioned skill and meritocracy. I think of this along the lines of like a community cup or a pre-release where it's not about the skill. It is more about community and visibility and who they want to highlight and things of that nature. So I wasn't too surprised. There weren't too many people on the list that I was confused by. And maybe it's just because I looked at it through a very different lens. I wasn't looking at this. And I think even Aaron Forsyth tried to clear that up. This is not supposed to be like a cutting edge competition REL kind of thing.
Right.
It is meant to be more of a marquee event, and so when you apply that logic to it, a lot of the invites start to make a bit more sense.
Right, but and in some ways you go like, all right, well, this person's sort of a Hearthstone streamer. Is the goal to reach out to Hearthstone players? And then you go, well, you would think a Kibler would bring in that type of audience. Or if you wanted to bring someone who streams a lot of Dota, you would bring in someone who's high profile from the Dota area. Is that the streams we're trying to cross here? I honestly don't know. And again, with no idea of what criteria you have to meet, what hurdle you have to jump through, what magical thing you have to accomplish in order to get to the next one, I don't know.
But I mean, if we're being completely honest, I mean, we've had several conversations about this as well in terms of, why do some content creators blow up and some don't? It's not always as simple as you do hard work. I think we covered this last week. It is sort of that mix of opportunity and luck and who you know and things of that nature. And so I don't think there is really a set formula in terms of what you could do. Otherwise, we would all be there. We'd all be at that peak. It's unfortunate that there's not some sort of process you can follow, but that's always been the case of why are some people bigger than others? It's just that confluence.
Fair point. Chris RD19, they have not noted that there is going to be a next one, which then you go, okay, so this is like $1 million like promo event. It's weird to call $1 million event like a casual event. So is it a competitive event? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it is, but it's based on who's starring in it, which is whatever. Either way.
If the upside is that this is another silver showcase, I don't think that's great.
I don't think that's great, but we'll see what happens.
That's what it sounds like. Was the hey, maybe it's just another silver showcase, except for that it's this. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, this is part of the danger that I have. We literally could have done 2 hours on just this today.
Right.
And we do have other topics to touch on, but I want to at least spout out at least some of my thoughts. This is some of the danger that you have when you hire Chris Cox as your CEO. right? We touched on this right when he first got hired, that he's a guy from Microsoft, he's a guy from Leapfrog, he's not from this industry, and he's looking at it in a completely different lens, and he's bringing in a lot of great, excellent new ideas and a huge breath of fresh air that was desperately needed. And yet you also don't have the decades of backstory that Greg Leeds had as the previous CEO, to be able to maintain what you already have. Sure, Arena is great at getting brand new people, and that is really good looking at the short-term increase in revenues on paper, but it's ultimately self-destructive overall, because Wizards has been, and this is a whole nother thing about Hasbro, which is Hasbro has been like in trouble a lot recently, and one of their most reliable and maybe their most consistent brand is Wizards of the Coast, and their year after year is way down. And there are analysts and executives who are poo-pooing the future of Hasbro, who, let's not forget, Hasbro doesn't come out with new IPs themselves a lot of the times. They pretty much resell and repackage existing IPs that they've purchased. Right. And this is the first quarter of the year. This is when we were going to see all this budget turnover. There's a lot going on here.
Well, first of all, I would note that I think focusing on new players is a good thing. It's what basically gave us sort of the magic renaissance of the post-Lorwyn era, of where they had the New World Order, where things weren't going to be too complex because they're trying to onboard as many people as possible. And that is ultimately, I think, a good thing. I think the problem is sort of if you lean so much more into new players and the digital aspect, and you say digital is like, this is how we're going to get them. We're going to make sure that they know how to play Arena, and maybe they'll tangentially learn about the paper side of things, and that this is a paper game and there's friendly local game stores or whatever. But if we can just get them watching on Twitch and get them streaming on Twitch and whatever, this is like the putting all the eggs in the basket, and you start to get concerned, and you go, the other basket was okay too, right? Like, you made lots of money off the other basket, maybe not as much as you wanted, but you still made lots of money over there. And it's weird when we see them make some really dramatic moves, like, as we move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, there has been no official announcement about coverage other than Channel Fireball will provide text coverage for Grand Prix events moving forward. So we'll have articles, like special sort of article bits on something that happens in the tournament, or maybe someone who is there. We'll have up-to-date standings and records and whatnot of everyone who's playing, and that's a good thing. But what happened was, you saw the GP New Jersey. Now, Grand Prix New Jersey should have been an absolute slam dunk. It's sold out
in minutes. I mean,
for God's sake.
GP was completely sold out. I mean, I saw there were posts from the judges there that were like, you saw people who were just trying to play that couldn't. There was no space for casuals or people who weren't signed up for events. I mean, it was wall to wall people. There were cosplayers. It should have been a banner event.
Absolutely. And it was one of those where it almost, because it was so successful, they took down pieces of essentially the staging. They took away the feature match area to make more space for playing, and that's great. But wow, you had a top 8 in action photo of, like, here's some random naked tables with a tablecloth bunched on it.
Pancake dinner in the basement of a church. It was so sad. And then the coverage aspect, people throughout the day are going, hey, where are the pairings? Where are the updates? And with the official account decides to respond to a random guy
oh my God.
At 10 p.m. Central Standard Time and says, oh, right, there is that. It's like, what?
Let's be clear here. On January 26th, at like late at night, after 10 o'clock, replying to just, like, no offense, but just a person in the community, and that's fine. Right. And he said, well, what's up with that? And they said, well, here's some policy we're going to lay out in the middle of friggin' Saturday night. What the hell are you doing? Okay. They say, as we begin to focus on Mythic Championships and the Pro Magic Pro League, we're adjusting our coverage for tournaments at Magic Fest. For New Jersey forward, we'll be posting critical end of tournament information on Sunday evening instead of round by round postings here and on our sites. Fans can still expect to see top 8 deck lists and tournament results on Sunday evenings. Now, here was the spin. The spin was, you're not really losing that much. You're just losing, like, event photos. You're just losing, like, really awesome stories that may have happened at the event. You're just losing focuses on, like, the artist or the cosplay or whatnot that may be there. This whole convention-esque feel that you want it to have, and that's why you call it a Magic Fest. So But no, you're not missing anything. You're still going to get the deck list. You're still going to get a top 8 profile. And it's like, but part of the culture of Magic is celebrating the culture of Magic.
Somebody who works in coverage had started retweeting messages of support when this announcement came out, and I ended up sending them a DM, and I was like, I sent them just sort of the eye emoji, like the wide open eyes, and they were like, yeah, I'm basically looking for another job. Like, this is somebody who is taking that to mean I don't have any work anymore. Like, and people didn't know what the tweet meant, but I knew behind the scenes that people had already started looking for other opportunities. I knew even a couple weeks ago when I was at the pre-release with Marshall, we went out for breakfast and somebody was like, hey, Marshall, what does your schedule look like for 2019? And he was like, I don't know. That was 2.5 weeks ago. As of 2.5 weeks ago, at least, these folks didn't know what their schedule was going to be like. Can you imagine that?
Again, this is your income, this is your contract work. You've been doing this for years, and then plop. And it's one thing for the ORCs who, again, they work for a different company that Wizards contracts, whatever, and we'll get to that narrative as well later. But just to say, surprise, no job for you. And it's like, whoa, what? This was my whole kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, no, it's just not happening. Well, Wizards wasn't saying anything. This is all rumbles. This is all behind the scenes, whatever, but everyone knows something's wrong. And, you have Reid Duke saying, my mother is disappointed by the reduction in GP coverage. Like,
that's
dude.
the most wholesome, on-brand thing ever.
And we had a situation where for the first time, again, I came back to Magic in 2005, 2006, whatever the preview weekend for Skull Clamp was. And from that period of time to last Wednesday, every single day, every single weekday, Monday through Friday, there has been an update on Daily MTG. And there was no update on Daily MTG. And that's the end of an era, for God's sake.
Some astute people also noticed that the layout changed. When you look at the top of the site, there used to be categories there specifically referencing events and coverage and convention staff and judge staff, and those categories have drastically changed, or it's like, where did these things go? Where there's no talk of coverage anymore. There used to be a link that was watch old ones. On there was a convention support thing. I think that's gone too. And people were just really left to kind of sort out these clues and what they are. We were playing Shadows over Innistrad the home game. We all had invested.
Patrick Sullivan replies, extremely cool that you tried to hire me to do GP coverage 2 months ago.
Oh my God. Yeah. I couldn't.
That was pretty awkward.
So Rich Hagon posts, PSA, everyone who works coverage at an event is a freelance contractor. We work when and where we are asked to work, and love to bring you coverage whenever we can, just as much as you like to watch it and read it.
It really seems like they had to pinch a lot of pennies to get to what they, I guess, wanted to get to with maybe not this $1 million thing, but with the $10 million number. A lot of the things had to change and a lot of things got cut, and the coverage getting cut is a huge, obviously to us in particular, Evan having been the birth of, live Magic coverage, at least one of the first 2 or 3 with the Star City Games Open Series, and me being way back in the day, Aaron, you working with Card Hoarder and doing all the coaching and a bunch of live stuff on your end as well. It's going to affect the 3 of us a lot more. And again, we don't have that outside view of it, but it's just, weird and sad. And again, maybe it's the right decision monetarily, but it was carried out in such a poor amateurish way.
Yeah.
It just like a dropping the dead body out of the hearse, next to the graveyard and keep driving.
I'm not surprised though. I've said it before, but it feels like the Arena community feels very self-contained. You don't really see them interacting with a lot of other content creators. They don't seem to have any interest in the storyline and where the characters on their cards come from. They don't appear to really watch coverage. And so if Wizards cares about Arena players and Arena players don't care about these things, it stands to reason that those are the things they're going to eliminate. And we're seeing it with the story too. We've seen, cutbacks being made in terms of the story and the lore and the Vorthos things. And now we're seeing it on the coverage side too. And this all, I'm really not surprised. It's still unfortunate, but I feel like I've seen this coming for a while.
Well, I mean, you remember when they announced that Rich Hagon was going to be like the video director, producer person who was going to be in charge of that stuff, and he was going to make these new segments and stuff, and it was going to be these different type of sort of eras throughout the tournament and whatnot, and that was neat. At least someone was trying something new, trying to kind of go for it, which was great. But then you kind of come back to, well, Eduardo Sajgalik says that the consultation stuff is ending.
Him, Willie Edel, Huey Jensen, and I think there was one more. We're serving as sort of these pro tour emissary, these pro players that were working with Wizards to. I think this was after the Pay the Pros thing, was it?
Yes, this was after Pay the Pros.
Yeah, so they brought on this sort of this committee to kind of advise on what pro players want and to kind of bounce ideas off of, and whenever changes would come down the pipe when it came to competitive Magic, you would oftentimes see Willie chime in and give like a summary of it, like if it was written in sort of legalese, he'd be like, here's what it really means, we're looking for your feedback. And somebody had reached out to Eduardo, and Eduardo was like, yeah, we're not a thing anymore. And it was like
I mean, look, you go and you watch Enter the Battlefield Scotland, and that was a live
took
coverage
that link
moment.
off the mothership too.
You take this stuff that is like incredibly community building and community driven, and you have this happening live at these events, which is absolutely fantastic. And you're able to really feel the energy in that clip that they show you of when it happens live. Like that's a special moment we'll have forever in Magic history. And they're like, you know what? Those moments, nah.
Yeah, there's an angle to this that a lot of people haven't thought about. A young lady named Kirsty wrote an open letter talking about how, folks from smaller countries, smaller regions, particularly Scotland and the Gary Campbell thing, they were able to see themselves in coverage. They were able to get a level of exposure that they would never have dreamt of. Same thing with, women, minorities, things of that nature. We were just starting to make some really, really good gains in that regard with seeing some fresh, new, diverse, innovative faces on camera. And if we lose GP coverage, well, now we're just focusing on 32 dudes who are amazing, talented, intelligent, obviously deserve it, but there are a lot of faces, a lot of cultures, a lot of parts of the world that aren't going to literally be seen anymore. Like, that's huge.
Yeah, we talk about visibility, right? We're all about the visibility. For what it's worth, this is I think a boon to Star City Games. I think that they are going to be the only ones covering paper Magic, and they want to get a big boost from that, and that's awesome. There's a story that Cedric Phillips posted from Stephen King, who's a player who's been trying to get on the Pro Tour for a while.
It took me a minute to realize he wasn't talking about the author.
Not the actual author.
No, Stephen King is an old school Midwest grinder.
Stephen King plays Magic?
Indiana, I think. He was also a former shooting guard for the Ohio Bobcats while I was going to school there. What I'm trying to say is Stephen King is not the most unusual combination of first and last name.
No.
Fair enough. Well, either way, he had mentioned that essentially he'd fallen short. You know what I mean? He'd been the bridesmaid over and over and over again. Yeah. And he finally got to a winning in, but it was against his friend, Tommy Ashton. And Tommy scooped to him with the win on the board. And because it meant so much more to Steven to qualify for a Pro Tour, make his first GP top 8 and all that stuff, than it did for him. And he was like, and then we kind of went over to the side tables and did a draft with 2 of the best players in the world. And no one cared, and no one was a feature. There was no feature tables. There were no spectators. There was no coverage, of course.
His eyes were puffy from crying. He's in the top 8 photo. You can see that there's like some pink around his eyes. And I'd never even heard of that young man before. And even I was moved after that story. I was like,
and that coverage matters. Getting that person on camera, talking about it.
I'm friends with Max Williams, who was the winner of Grand Prix New Jersey. I knew him during my time working for Tales of Adventure in the Bethlehem area, which is very close to New Jersey. Max was a fixture at Tales. Great dude, hilarious, really charismatic, really talented at Magic, and no one will know, which is the obvious of what Sir Mix-a-Lot said in the commercial.
So next here, I mean, this is, it's I'll be honest, for someone who is sort of entrenched, you know what I mean, dedicated, you love Magic, you've followed the Pro Tour, you know who the pros are, you know why the pros look the way they do, because they're photographed by one man, and it is Craig Gibson, who's been photographing pro players. Every picture you've ever seen from a pro tour, I can almost guarantee it came from this man right here.
Oh yeah, I think that you can guarantee. I think you can 100% guarantee.
Well, maybe somebody takes pictures of their phones or whatever, but like I'm telling you, you've seen a big picture from Pro Tour. You've seen this man's work. You've seen this man's work all over the profile photos for pros on Twitter and Instagram. And Craig Gibson was fired. This guy's been photographing Pro Tours for 21-something years, seriously. He's an amazing guy. I got to hang out with him, have dinner with him just one-on-one in Japan. It was awesome. I'd like to learn about him and his family. He's great. And this guy does unbelievable work. You're moving into this esport thing. You know people still have to look good, right? You still have to take photos of these people. What the hell are you doing? And then I get to hear sort of the rumbling was, well, we didn't contract his company no more or whatever. Really? Seriously? 20 plus years or something, and we're going to like blame it on a company that he works for? No, man, you cut Craig Gibson out of the Pro Tour, and that's a sad loss.
Craig Gibson, I remember when I worked for Card Hoarder and we had our teams, and if you wanted any sort of legitimacy, if you wanted any sort of professional headshot, if you were any sort of player who was like looking to make a name for yourself, you wanted a Craig Gibson headshot. Like that was something you wanted to have. You wanted it on your Twitter profile. I even got a picture when I was working at Pro Tour Ixalan, and it was amazing because I'm never going to qualify for a pro tour. And so to have him offer to take my picture was a really huge deal. And that was just, there was every pro tour, there would be the photo dump of here were the pictures, here was the set. You didn't have a pro tour without those pictures. Like, what?
Yeah. I can abide the loss of written coverage. You know, I can look at the success of other esports and recognize that some of them, I mean, most of them still have written article coverage, but some of them don't. And so I can be like, all right, I can abide that loss. I can abide the loss of live commentary of the Swiss rounds of Grand Prix. And by that, I guess I can abide a little bit of the losing of the coverage of Grand Prix overall, I guess. I mean, I can see it. We got to scrimp and save, then, you know, it's not my first, second, or third choice, but I guess it's better than some other stuff. This I can't abide. This one makes no sense whatsoever. Craig Gibson is an indelible piece and a necessary piece more than some official tournament procedures, in my opinion, or at least a coverage photographer.
He was just,
right? Like
he was damn good at what he did.
Anybody look good, and convention center lighting is not kind, y'all. I mean, and he could, you know, no matter how rough you looked, no matter how harsh the lighting was, he knew your angles, he knew how to flatter you. I mean, it was.
If you think about Herbert Holtz and the thing and the and PV in the
most
hammock,
famous photo, yeah,
right, and Brian Kibler in Austin with that, like these are what he did. When I made the Magic show and I went overseas for the first time in my life, period, and I was at Pro Tour Valencia capturing Craig getting the photo and then showing you the photo that he captured and the work that it took, and they had to stand in this pond and whatever. Man, that was amazing. I felt that was an incredibly awesome culture moment. That was something that walked the plains when they essentially kind of took the baton and kept running by covering the Pro Tours. They would cover that moment. They would cover the moment of the picture. That picture was really important. And Wizards is taking that and flushing it, and it's messed up.
My best memory with Craig was Pro Tour Montreal, which was in a February, which is not when you want to be in Montreal. And Tom Martell won that tournament. That was when I flew myself up there as the Newsening News to be able to cover that. And I followed the cadre of Team Star City games as we made our way in negative 15-degree weather, a block and a half from the convention center to get that photo. And captured the moment.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Anyway, we got to keep moving, which is unfortunate. GerryT was asked, like, hey, you guys went to this Magic Pro League boot camp. They got all those guys up there. I don't know what they did. I saw them like cutting their hair and making them look nice, you know, once or twice, and that's awesome.
Right.
I would have loved to have been a fly on that wall.
Well, he says here, many people brought up the fact that gold, silvers, grinders are in the dark and need info ASAP. Because right now, again, what's going on in organized play right now is a huge monster question mark, and we have no idea. He said those people are our friends. Bootcamp didn't mention coverage disappearing or Craig not doing photos. This stuff isn't okay, and I'm still fighting. because Gerry is definitely one of the best we got, and he's doing a good job. But
right, when we signed on, we didn't get the fine print to exactly what it meant to get the $75K salary, what exactly it meant to get the $10 million league, what all of that entailed. Right.
It's almost like sort of a monkey's paw in some way of just like, well, you're going to get your $1 million event.
Kind of like BB was talking about, that he finally, gets this opportunity that he's waited his whole career for, and it came with some very, very steep costs, whether it be the court of public opinion or whether it be all these drawbacks. And it does feel like a bit of a dark deal.
Yeah, and it sucks because like this, I'll be honest, like again, for the most entrenched players out there, this feels like one of the most depressing weeks I've seen in a long time. Like it's actually making me sad. This is a complete pullout from caring about Grand Prix from a Wizards standpoint, them not paying for it. Now, I mentioned on Twitter that I had an idea for how to fix this problem. And I think this is a legitimate idea that Wizards should consider, that CFB and Wizards should consider to bring coverage back. First of all, let me tell you, I know from experience, it's going to cost about $15,000, anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 an event to bring coverage to that, to bring video coverage to that event. You got to fly them in, you got to get everybody a hotel, they got to eat, you got to pay like $4,000 for internet. Yes, that's a real number, and all that stuff costs money. So Wizards of the Coast and Channel Fireball get together and they create a Kickstarter. And that Kickstarter provides you with a promo for $20. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it looks like. Just, promo. Make it pretty. Make it pretty, make it foil. It's $20 a pop, okay? That's the only way you can get it. It's the only time they're going to sell it. Go. If you're looking to cover around 40 events, that's generally that's the rest of the year minus a few weeks. Let's imagine if they announce this tomorrow. 40 events times $15,000 is $600,000. If you decided to create a $20 promo through Kickstarter, 30,000 people or 30,000 copies of that promo would need to be purchased to cover that. And I think that's a lot of people. I think that would be easily done. Well, considering I've seen how board games happen on Kickstarter, and we've seen how the Mythic edition of Ravnica Allegiance, which isn't near as exciting and still is available right now, hasn't sold as well.
I was going to say, how's that one doing?
Well, as of right now, we've seen somewhere in the realm of like 10,000 or so, or 12,000 boxes sold. And that's...
Can you still see the actual count on eBay?
Probably. I know. I mean, at this point, we can see that the most recent listing has 2,007 sold. So again, if you have 2,007 sold times $250, that's $500,000. So like that's $500,000. If we need to raise $600K, I think that's easily doable. And again, that lets us put our money where our mouth is. It gives Wizards like a cool promo thing because they're all talking about catering to the collector, and it helps you pay for this event.
That feels so gross, though. Like, I get it for board games, but not for Hasbro.
Yeah, Kickstarter.
That's not true. They ran a crowd-funded Star Wars model.
They did. And it sounds a lot more like the prize pool for the Invitational, which is the Duels of the Ancients, the Dota thing. It sounds a lot more like that.
Tacky.
I mean, look, would you not buy one? Would you not consider this is, essentially making coverage happen as we know it?
I mean, me? Is it a Nexus of Fate?
I don't know, maybe.
Is it a Life from the Loam?
It's a noble hierarch. I don't care. Like pick a good card. Pick a card that's not. It's a Manamorphose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
it's not insane.
The International, not the Invitational. Thank you, Bubba Rad.
Sure.
I get the idea. I think it's an interesting one. Clearly, they have no interest in exploring any sort of option like that, though. Is my problem.
Yeah, they don't seem to.
Like, it's not my big thing about this isn't, I'm a little disappointed, right, that written coverage is going away. Having written hundreds and hundreds of match write-ups, I'm nostalgic for that, but I get it, right? Like, I totally understand it. Mm-hmm. My problem is the way that the information was relayed. The end result, whatever. If they've come to the decision that that's the way they need to go, they're a business. They're allowed to, make whatever business-related decisions they need to make. Like we like to think of Wizards as this, ivory tower on the hill where creative people get together to create the best game in the world, and it still is that. But primarily, it's a business. And so if they've come to this business decision that it's best to cut that and that the overall net gain that they get from cutting that is worth it, then okay, I get it. But the relaying of information, the last second slapdash announcements that have become the norm for Wizards of the Coast, and then the trying to cover it up later by saying, oh no, this was planned like this all along, rather than just saying, hey, give us another week to do something, or just get crap together in the first place. Like, this is the same crap that we've been here talking about for the last 6 months of like
even longer than that. Yeah.
I mean, at least the last 6 months, but especially pertaining to Arena,
Right.
which is just like, announce things. Don't announce announcements. Put it out with the something's coming stuff. I don't care.
Somebody in our Discord had asked the question, and I've even seen this post a lot recently, is, are people being mad to be mad? You know, is the outrage genuine? And, you know, I think businesses make poor decisions all the time, but the way that they get out of them depends on the strength of their community managers, the community team. You know, it's very clear that there's nobody putting the cart back on the rails. You know, when you decide to release a tweet late on a Saturday, you let the community stew for almost 4 days before you make an announcement about the text coverage. At one point, it wasn't even about the text coverage anymore.
Yeah.
About sort of we don't know what's going on. And so I don't buy the argument of, well, there's, you know, somebody was like, well, there would have been no pleasing anybody. And it's like, maybe not, but there still would have been some way to stem the bleeding. And it's been painfully clear over the last year or so that there's just nobody on the community management side. There's nobody getting in Reddit, getting in Twitter. You saw a lot of judges that were posting really nice statements about Grand Prix New Jersey that were like, hey, it was still a slam dunk event. Let's not forget that. That's something Wizards should have been telling us. Like, you shouldn't have had to have jumped in and done their damage control for you. That's the message that Wizards should have been communicating of, hey, let's not forget we sold so many blah or whatever. Nobody's managing those discussions. And because those discussions are running wild, that's why things are spinning so far out of control. I think a lot of decisions are just kind of that businesses make initially are a little unpopular. I think people kind of get used to them, but when no one's managing things, when things aren't staying
it's just
in the car, it gets so much worse.
It just feels disrespectful. And I've brought that term up a lot in terms of, you're important to our company, you represent the brand, oops, let's pull out the rug. There's not an article that says, look, you know, we love these people and we have supported them and we want to support them in the future, but we got to change things. We're changing things and we're going to let them go for now. We really appreciate them. We're going a different direction. This is why, this is where it's going. Yes, it sucks, but you know, is what it is. Because now we're in that weird, like, CFB is going to pay for text coverage, which again is a definite non-zero amount of money. We're talking easy 60 to 70 grand a year after flights and hotels and whatever. But that's like, and they're like, you know, you need to be happy about that. And I'm like, I'm not, I mean, I am. I'm not happy.
Yeah, but it wasn't even, like I said, at one point, it wasn't even about the coverage anymore. It was about the way that things were communicated, the way the situation was handled. And by that point, people were so bruised, it was like, okay.
I mean, I guess, man, it's just, it's just really, really uncomfortable. Either way, Ravnica Mythic Edition is still available. They sold.
Boy, hard pivot there.
Well, I mean, we gotta move through this.
We gotta move forward. You had such a good segue earlier. I'm sorry to focus on that one.
It's okay. It's fine. Man. Well, either way, it looks like they've sold a whole bunch of boxes, but they haven't sold all of them. This to me also makes it sound like they have made too many because they haven't sold through enough. And the artwork on them, as we mentioned, I think looks a little rushed. None of the artist's fault. I think Wizards just threw this together, and here we are.
Right. And they just took whatever they had in the meat locker and slapped it. Is that what you were suggesting?
But it also appears that some people who have bought in 2 boxes have gotten shipped 2 cases, which have 2 boxes in them each. So somebody who ordered 2 got 4. So
wow.
Congratulations. But someone who did buy 2 boxes and only got 2 boxes.
What happens if you keep them? Like, are you in trouble?
I
or
don't.
Is it like finders keepers?
If someone ships you something in that manner, it's yours. You don't have to. You know, they send it to you. But someone did open their 2 boxes and they got 6 Blood Crypts, 5 Glass the Guild Pact, and 6 N-Rays Forerunners. So maybe collation rather is not the strong suit on those boxes.
Collation Relic.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, well, first of all, let me just say that I think Endray's Forerunners is a good pickup for a long-term spec. We saw Craterhoof Behemoth go kind of good on that one too, so you might want to hold on to your Endray's Forerunners.
Decimator of Provinces or GTFO.
Okay.
All right.
It was good.
But more importantly, these are like a fine pickup. Like maybe the art was rushed, maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world, but these are 100% going to increase in value, right? No,
I can't. Well, look, there's factors that impact it. For example, it's still on the market. You can still buy it right now, so it's worth no more than the $250 until those are all gone from the official source. The secondary market can't be secondary until the first, market runs out to the actual source.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes. We got to keep moving. Tomorrow at noon, I am going to be streaming live from CoolStuffInc.com headquarters.
Oh, right.
And
how did that go?
Oh, it went great. We had a super fun time. I
heard it was awesome. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I don't think anyone realized how many guildless cards there were because we were auctioning off the guilds and finally the guildless. A person paid $18 for every guildless card I pulled in that box. Did you know that Angel of Mercy doesn't have a guild symbol on her?
Oh, nice. Good.
And I opened a foil one, which was worth $32 by itself, plus this giant stack of cards that are not affiliated with a certain guild, which is insane.
Right. Guildless, I think, or no, maybe that's Azorius. I don't know, whatever.
Right, but either way, but we're going to crank up the stakes. I think it's going to be a lot more fun.
Crank up the stakes.
If we get some bigger, better boxes. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to auction off 2 Ravnica Allegiance boxes. Again, this is at twitch.tv/CoolStuffInc. Tomorrow at noon, Eastern Standard. 2 boxes of Ravnica Allegiance, and then we're going to do an Ultimate Masters box. And an Ultimate Masters box is going to begin with categories such as the box topper. Here's a fun fact, and this is 100% true. I have opened exactly 1 box topper in my life, and I pulled a Liliana of the Veil. I'm just saying. Obviously, that doesn't mean anything, but it was fun. And we're also going to auction off a box of Modern Masters, the original, the old school, the OG. Like, there's so much money packed in that stupid box. It is insane. It's insane. Like, just looking at all the crazy cards you can pull out of that thing, there's just so much money in that set. It's going to be super fun to do. So guys, come hang out. Even if you're not going to bid, there's giveaways and stuff I do. It should be super fun tomorrow at noon, about 12 hours from now.
Cool, man.
All right. So the Magic stream happened today, and they gave us a little bit more news on certain things. The professor from Tulare Community College, Brian, was there grilling them on some different stuff. Like, for example, there's no news or details on the Portal app. You know, the one they put on the side of the boxes?
Perfect.
For Guilds of Ravnica last October. Got nothing.
Right.
Can you imagine buying a box of Guilds of Ravnica in like 10 years as like someone hid it in their closet and then didn't sell, and then they were like, I'm selling off my old boxes, here's Guilds of Ravnica. And there's like a Portal ad on the side, and then like the promo inserts have like Rich and Maria's face on them.
Oh.
Right?
Woof.
And like what in the world are people thinking? I don't know.
Crazy. Well, look, there's no details. I mean, in many ways, I'm happy with the Blizzard mentality of you release it when it's done. If you release a bad app, it's a bad app from the get-go. And
I much prefer that than the alternative.
So do it right, but you got to be careful about those announcements and launching stuff and printing on things. Masterpiece type cards, basically what you describe as sort of the lottery pools of cards, are going to come back in standard sets at some point. They mentioned essentially the quote-unquote collector portion of the player base is underserved. And for what it's worth, I think that's true.
Does that mean they're getting rid of the reserve list? Because
Lord, no. It means they're just going to print pretty unique versions of cards that you can collect if you want to.
Right.
But
unless they don't care about paper Magic anymore.
Why not?
They're not actually gonna. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, look, there's been no MTG Arena mobile fate decided yet. Now, the rumor came out when the ORCs were fired that there was Magic Blitz, some sort of special mobile version of Magic that wasn't necessarily like magic, but it was close enough that you could play it on your phone and have a good time. This is similar to what I would describe as Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a program called Duel Links, which is a simplified version of the game. And I'm not making this up, can play the game for you if you don't want to.
Dope.
It could just play. You just go. Just play for me.
My opponent went Gitu Lava Runner turn 1. All right, put it on autoplay. I'm ready.
Just run. Just good.
You put it that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, look. They also mentioned that.
I was appealing to Aaron there.
Well, they did admit that Ultimate Masters began as Graveyard Masters, and then they decided to just do whatever, just go nuts.
Right.
They mentioned not making budget cuts to coverage, but that they're increasing the budget to coverage, which I say call.
Yeah. No,
Call.
I'm not. Yeah.
You got to show me some receipts or something, guys, because
I think that they're asking the wrong question there. So I believe them when they say they're not making budget cuts to coverage. But
moving
what's in the sausage that's being made is being moved around a lot.
I don't know. I have a feeling, when I keep thinking about the Mythic Championships or the No Pro Tours, I'm just worried that they're all going to end up looking like The Voice. Like when you see just the crazy esports stages with like lights and strobes and hairs, and I'm like, it's just going to be obnoxious. Like
you get two choices, Aaron. You either get sweat shorts, you get like gross, ill-fitting t-shirts, or you get confetti cannons and strobe lights. There's no middle ground, apparently, in the world.
Make me choose. Oh, no.
Pajama pants or the light show, y'all. That's right. What you get to have.
Oh, geez. They're going to hit that button on The Voice. It's going to spin around. It's going to be basketball shorts and a Pikachu hat. Like,
look, all right,
no.
So here's my concern. And this also comes from sort of the business side of things from Cool Stuff, okay? We pay a fee to go to vend at Grand Prix events, okay?
Right.
That's
going to be interesting.
Now look, what Wizard is doing is making paper less important by not putting the resources into going. For example, Shaheen Sarani canceled his trip to GP Memphis because he wanted to get more SCG events in, and he now has a good reason because there's going to be no coverage. There's going to be no way to star build. There's going to be no way to...
Control's not very good right now.
Well, fair, but there's going to be no way to get a deck tech. There's going to be no way to get your name out there in the way that you could before. So that's going to start to affect who shows up at Grand Prix and why, and what coverage is even made of them. As that goes forward, that could shrink the size of Grand Prix. Not that Wizards gives a crap, because Arena exists, right? And so suddenly you're paying to vend at these events, and those fees ain't going down, folks. But somehow they're going to bring less attention to the event, but we're supposed to, as a business, keep getting the same amount of value out of those events. That could necessarily be a problem. So much crazy stuff has happened in the past week. Like, for the first time ever, I'm like, are Grand Prix going to be around in 2 years? Like, seriously? I honestly don't know.
I traded away my Grand Prix Lightning Bolt promo this week, yesterday, since we didn't have a show. I went to Commander Night, and those things are those
lightning bolts.
I do, but it's apparently this Lightning Bolt promo is $50 right now. So I got me some nice pieces to my my EDH decks that are made out of things I found in my room. So. No more, but those things are going to be $1 billion when GP promos don't exist because GPs don't exist.
It's a thing. I mean,
it's wild, man. Like,
let's move on here to Desperate Ravens. Look, feeding into this narrative is that the contracts for 2 of the 5 judge program coordinator positions expire in March, and Wizards is like, you know what? Those are expiring forever. And we're not going to pay people at the top levels of the judge program to make sure that program is running successfully.
They're even starting an outreach program to sort of remind stores and TOs about the role of judges and how important they are. Like,
okay.
Like, why? Like, I thought it was just assumed that, like, if you had an event, you needed judges. Judges are awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so that's one of those, sort of, it's just the bellwether stuff. You know what I mean? Like, these organized play announcements are, like, insane. And last year, Ron Foster, which is, again, one of the cornerstones of organized play at Wizards of the Coast, left the company. And that guy had been there forever. And so the old guard is out, the new guard is clearly in, and the new guard don't give a crap about how much you love or don't love coverage of paper events, because it's not been growing over the years. The viewership has not been growing. What viewership does grow is modern and whatnot, and there's only so much of that they can promote, because they don't want to promote too much modern, because they don't sell necessarily modern cards. They sell standard booster packs. That's what they want you to buy. So if this is pushing the audience to Magic Arena, whatever. All right. Do you know what's in Pauper? Because
nothing I want to play, that's for sure.
Not most people don't and have any idea as to why Pauper is the way it is and why it works the way it does and how the promos worked and how Wizards had to be like, you know, BT dubs, this is now common legal, this is now not, you know, this is now Pauper legal, this is not Pauper legal. They upgraded, for example, this is the best one. They upgraded Thought Vessel. That's a mana rock, a 2-mana rock that has, you have no maximum hand size, tapped out of mana. Okay. They upgraded that to uncommon so that opening it in treasure chests would, quote, feel more legendary. And that's why you haven't been able to play with Thought Vessel and Pauper for the past 3.5 years, because they didn't want someone to feel bad opening a common in 2015 in a 2015 promotion that ran for 3 weeks.
I saw a tweet, I think it was a GP New Jersey.
What in the world?
I
Seriously?
saw a tweet from GP New Jersey where I believe somebody said they were in a Pauper event and their opponent, or they saw somebody playing with Young Pyromancer. For those playing along at home, Young Pyromancer is an uncommon. I'm not aware of it ever being a common, and apparently no one stopped them. And it's like...
Weird.
Well, I mean, again, they just removed Spatial Contortion, which is the +3/-3 from Battle for Zendikar block, which is a very good card. But
Right.
they just took it out of the format. Like, nope, you don't get that one because we something promo something.
No. I thought that Spatial Contortion was an uncommon.
Well, it was common in like a promo thing because it was appearing at common in promotional card slots.
Discussion about whether or not it is legal. It should simply be yes or no. There shouldn't be.
It's like, the point is, Wizards needs to just crap or get off the pot. Okay, you're going to have a Mythic Championship qualifier that is Pauper at GPLA. Okay,
weird.
But you can the best you can define this format is to point to a giant list of cards that have been legal on Magic Online, because that's where it originated. That's got to change. And the article says, look, just pick a point and say blank forward is common, and just grandfather in all of the cards that matter that are older that you gave a crap about, like Blue Elemental Blast or you know, Gorilla Shaman or whatever, and just be done with it, because you got to get your stuff together. I mean, look, we don't want Sinkhole or whatever legal, but we also need to find a way to just say, we can't sanction the format if they don't tell you what the format is.
That's bizarre. Yeah,
It's
bizarre. The other thing is I hadn't realized how dependent on Magic Online the Pauper legality was.
Oh, 100%. Like, literally, it is the only, you know, say as to what is legal and not is legal. And again, they randomly, you can't play with some commons because they upgraded them for reasons, and like, what? Why are you doing this? It's strange.
I have a very simple answer to this. I blame Kendra. I blame Kendra.
Smart. Good.
Hashtag blame Kendra.
Hashtag blame Kendra.
All right.
Hashtag Pauper.
That's all her fault. She's just bringing it in.
All Pauper, all the time. Well, look.
You notice that she stopped playing the format just as it became trash. Like, she did the damage and then she's like, I'm out. Like, she...
Yeah.
I mean, I felt...
Sounds like you with Modern.
Oh.
Listen, just
not to call you out or anything, but
Mama's playing again.
ain't nobody trying to talk about Modern right now.
It's true. Well, look, what was talked about and was seen for 2 hours.
Jesus.
2 hours. Something is broken in Magic Arena, and the break is that people can troll you out with Nexus of Fate. They can cast it and then cast it and then cast it.
I was so happy that this happened. So I was at one of my friends' RPG shows on Tuesday night, and after they got off of air, I was driving home, and I looked on Twitter and saw everyone talking about this. And by everyone, I mean like Kibler and Brad Nelson and a bunch of folks were like, this is our Woodstock moment right now, everybody. Everybody come into Shahar's stream as he gets trolled by some random dude. by having no win conditions and no other way to win other than just casting Nexus of Fate over and over and over again.
So
that's what was happening.
Right. He would let his timeouts, or he or she, whoever, the opponent would let the timeouts run all the way down. And then when they were at their last second, they'd play Nexus of Fate and then take an extra turn and say go or whatever. And Shahar was so used to just like hitting spacebar, whatever. He actually let it to Fairy Hero of Dominaria resolve, and he was like, oh God. And then he had to find his Vraska's Contempt so he wouldn't lose to it by them ultimate it. But he found it, and so he exiled it, and then was stuck there for hours.
2 hours.
Well, it led to an interesting debate, too, of why wouldn't you... Now, I'm not saying I have a dog in either fight, but there were some people that were like, why would you stay that long? Like, why wouldn't you just say, I'm going to go take my ball and play elsewhere? Like,
well, Shahar is streaming for a lot of audience. When the loops started, he had about 300 viewers. And to his credit, by the time he was ruled the victor, which we'll get to how that happened in a moment, he had around 3,000. This was truly a come-together moment.
I understand that. But it opened up a larger discussion about Nexus of Fate of, is this person a troll for doing it so long, or are you foolish for sticking around for the whole thing?
Well, look, here's the thing. Let me explain it to you in one word, and it's called pride. You just don't want to give somebody...
I play Dredge. I have no pride.
Fair. But you don't want to give someone the satisfaction of getting that free win because you were a prick about it. And I don't want that to be a thing. And I want Wizards to somehow create code that says if your last turn was exactly this turn, you can do that like 4 or 5 times, and that's it.
And that's the rules. That's the comp rules.
Yes.
If you did this at a live event, you would be given the game loss.
Right.
But it isn't coded.
Then I'd be meeting your ass in the parking garage.
Right. But it isn't. But it isn't coded into the system. It is against the terms of service, but it isn't something that you can manually. Apparently, it's very difficult to manually code loops.
Right. And I understand that for what it's worth. I understand it's not easy problem to solve, but it is a problem.
For sure.
But here's the kicker, y'all. Here's the punchline. Okay, the punchline is you have thousands of people watching this. You have this turn into like a weird community moment where everyone's laughing their butt off anyway.
Right.
The lead developer of Magic Arena is in the chat, and then the lead developer bans the other person. They banned him, y'all. We got him. They slammed the we got him button, and the confetti falls, and we did it, everybody. We got him. No more of that guy's ever going to do this again. Wait a minute. You banned him for 2 hours? Wait, what?
It's an easy, you get a game loss. Like you wouldn't get banned for any amount of time for doing this in real life.
Not even like a day? You couldn't give him a day? This guy ruined for 2 hours. He wasted time. I can't. I was like, all right, at the end, we got a bad guy. Yes, it took Shahar.
I like my approach better.
Yes, it took thousands of people watching. Yes, it took the pros going, what in the world's happening? But you banned him for 2 hours. Oh my God. What are we doing here, people? What are we doing? What is happening?
I mean, it's really, if the card Nexus of Fate gets banned, then the guy who got banned for 2 hours is the real hero of this story.
Gross. Well, look, something we didn't mention earlier is that Wizards is considering and/or does have, I don't know how that read, of having a separate ban list for Arena's best of 1 that isn't necessarily the same as a standard ban list. What?
Interesting.
What? Aaron, you're making the faces. What's up with that?
It's a lot of that's a lot to remember. Like,
there's some cards that create pretty uncomfortable play situations, like Nexus of Fate.
I know, I love them.
I don't think any of your cards are in danger of getting
I wasn't
banned.
suggesting that. No, I just think having too many ban lists is obnoxious.
Sure.
I think it only serves to widen the gulf between Arena and Paper Magic. I've said it before, I don't consider what you guys do on Arena to be standard. Like, it's some mutant form of standard. And I don't think this helps. I think it's bad enough that we're now creating duo standard. Then there's going to be standard plus, and now we have best of 1. Now we're going to have these different ban lists. Like, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah. If we're not smart enough for sideboards, we're certainly not smart enough for another ban list. Although they can code it into the system, and I can look at the sad, redacted rampaging Ferocidon every time I'm looking at what rares to craft.
That card did work, and in fact, I got around it by like loading up a deck list. There was a workaround you could do for a while that if you loaded a deck list with Ferocidon, you could redeem wild cards for it. They got rid of it. But for a while, I was the only one playing Mono with Ferocidon. It was amazing.
Wow.
It was great.
That card seems dope in Mono Red, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. And this was back even before Ravnik or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, so Ruben, I think this next story just has you written all over it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a simple man. I see the mountain goats, and I go listen to them. That's all I care about. I'm a big folk rock musician fan. I saw John Darnielle and company 13 years ago when I was in college, live in Athens, Ohio at the Union, before the Union burned down and they had to rebuild it.
Wow.
I saw it on the original old stage up there. The Mountain Goats are great, man. This year, Lion's Teeth, best ever death metal band out of Denton. Well, it's the best folk band that was playing in Renton this past week because they had a new album come out that is all about Dungeons and Dragons, going with their theme of really specific niche albums. Their album previous to this one was called Goths, and this one is called Younger, and is an album called In League with Dragons. And they had a live performance up in front of Mitzi at the Wizards of the Coast headquarters. And I'm a big fan of it.
Isn't it just one dude?
So John Darnielle, so the band The Mountain Goats records their album with a bunch of studio musicians, but in reality, The Mountain Goats is John Darnielle. That is who it is.
Okay, so the album, it can be pre-ordered right now. It's going to be released on April 26th.
Right.
So,
and they had an exclusive concert at WotC. It's just a great band. It's a really good band. It's really unfortunate timing that the Wizards of the Coast Twitter account was tweeting about In League with Dragons. It was a Dungeons and Dragons musical crossover on the week and on the day where, Magic Fest coverage was going to be the big issue of the day. And so there were a bunch of trolls in the Facebook chat asking, where coverage is. And I'm sure no one who was there was like, what are you even doing? The Mountain Goats show up and are like, I don't know why these people are mad at me, but I guess they're going to yell at me while I play my acoustic guitar. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's fun. I think it's a cool little crossover.
It's just one of those.
It's nice to see that Wizards is catering to that handlebar mustache, I can my own beats demographic, but I'm just not sure,
I can my own beats, man. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I'll drink my IPAs while I draft my IPAs.
Very nice, very nice. Well, look, I mean, more power to you. Obviously, whatever artist you like and support, you can certainly do so. It was just, for me, certainly awkward. And I think also kind of shows there's an incredible amount of being siloed at Wizards of the Coast. And you'll hear this from people who work there, that it's a very siloed type company where you're in your lane and you stay in it. And you get out of it, then you're going to get out of here. So the people who are working on marketing, I guess, or brand, and are they talking to organized play? I don't know, but suddenly they're firing everybody, and the MPL guys don't know when they were literally there. They were actually at Wizards of the Coast HQ, and you didn't tell them.
It's really easy to forget that Wizards of the Coast, we say it like it's this big conglomerate, that they're a subsidiary of Hasbro, but there's 20 people that work on D&D and 40 people that work on Magic. That's not a huge building.
Depending on how you want to think of contract work, I mean, there's more than that involved. But
sure, contractors. There's a billion contractors for sure.
And even on site, there's a lot of contractors. They contract people before they hire them full time, and so on and so forth, which is great. But again, it was just one of those we're super excited about a thing, and you're like, yeah, but this thing over here is on fire, and that's not okay. And they're like, yeah, but we're having a party over here in this side of the room that isn't on fire, and we're like, okay, that's great, thanks. I mean. Sure, whatever, man. Okay. Well, Oliver too, who I have had my own little run-ins with in the past, has once again.
We would forget if you didn't keep bringing it up.
I know, right?
What? It's fine there. Oliver, get at me. It's fine. Oliver is once again putting Braham Thomas on blast. that he has sent him half of his money and never sent the rest. Something
respect the petty.
Something taxes, something lawyers. The man ain't got his money.
Oh man.
He was shamed into sending half of it last time. And it was just like, I'll send you the other half after so and then so never happens. And here we are. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, man, what rough luck for that guy.
He said, Oliver says here on January 24th, he finally messaged me on here. Now he's saying he wants to sue me for defamation.
Oh boy. Good.
Bruh.
Good.
I love it.
Go ahead.
I got your mugshot, bro. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
What
Feel
we
free
doing
to
here?
show up at the courthouse.
This needs to happen, and Dios Boss needs to be the court artist. Like, I would pay $1 million to see that.
Oh my God. Well, look, he says, and so this kind of started the conversation of why doesn't Wizards do the splits for the players? You know what I mean? Wizards literally never ever has split anything for anybody. They said, you know, this guy gets the 10K or whatever for winning, and this guy gets the XK for second place, and y'all deal with it yourself with your own business.
Apparently, there's been a Bram spotting recently. I don't want to get too much into it, but we might have a lead on this cold case.
Oh my God!
Somebody in chat said Bram was in my LGS 2 weeks ago. Get him!
Get him! You put him on blast, man. Like, why are you being such a scumbag? Now look,
Oliver's gonna be like under the car. He's gonna pop out of the trunk.
Surprise, bro! Where my money at? Where my money at, y'all? Like,
Bram's gonna have to grow a fake mustache.
Bram better have my money.
Oh my God!
Right.
Well, look. From Wizards' side, and this is the way I explained it, is that while SCG will do that for players, if you want to be paid, you want to split X and Y, SCG will help you out with that, and so will other tournament organizers. Wizards don't care. It is not in a profit loss, what is gained by putting money and time into logistics of splitting X, Y, X and Y payout versus, this other payout that we've standardized for all of our other 50 events. It is not worth their time and effort. And someone is like, it's costing them more than zero now. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not costing Wizards anything. It's causing, Oliver to have a problem with this guy who he thought he could trust. But Wizards isn't out anything. They didn't do anything wrong. They sent the money where they said they'd send it. And everything else is details. So, all right. Let's go ahead and get that winner chosen so we can get the winner announced. A booster box of Ravnica Allegiance. Now, look, if you're overseas, I can't send you a booster box. Wizards won't let us. But I will give you a gift certificate of an equal amount for a booster box.
Real quick, am I eligible to win this?
No.
I've never entered one of these, and I was thinking about doing it just to troll. But then if I won, I didn't know what I would do.
I would have to pick another winner, and I would scold you.
Oh, all right. Well, that's fine then.
All
but
right.
But what if I got super lucky?
Jersey Bricklayer. Congratulations, Jersey Bricklayer, for winning a booster box.
Long-time fan of the show.
Oh, yeah. Long-time supporter. Thank you so much. Congrats, Jersey Bricklayer. Get there. That's awesome. So please contact Aaron. She will get your information. I need phone number, address. I
don't think I have him blocked. So.
Okay, that's good. It's not
yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's awesome.
Pretty sweet.
So way to go. I will send you a booster box of Ravnica Allegiance, courtesy of CoolStuffInc.com. Thank you so much, Cool Stuff, for supporting the giveaways. Let's go over here and get our thanks in, which is great. MTG Pack Foils resub for 4 months. Nexus of Fate sunglasses is turning people against each other. Yeah. Hashtag ratio.
I get you.
Gotcha. Jersey Bricklayer resub today for 10 months. Question mark sub badges? We need to work on that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Tesla Prime.
We also have sub boxes, so that's nice for you.
Nice. Tesla Prime resub for 4 months. Glad you're feeling somewhat better. I am. Thank you very much. I've been weird stomach thing. It's like been going through the office. It's been kind of taking out people throughout different parts of Cool Stuff.
I was worried. Sucks. You were doing your me impression yesterday.
Yeah, it was rough. Shame MTG sub for tier 1. Thank you very much. Parzival 12607 has subscribed via Prime. Thunder Voice _1 resub for 10 months. Thank you so very much. Martin Casa, we know how to say your name these days. Oh, actually, that's the bits thing. I'll give you that one.
Martin's also saying he never got a box from us. I don't know how serious that is, but
For what?
Did he won a box last time?
He's
Maybe?
indicating he didn't get a box from Cool Stuff. So.
Oh, well then, please send your information to Erin, and she will get it to me, and we will get you that. We'll get you that thing. If you won the Guilds of Ravnica booster box, then obviously.
Not a giveaway.
Well, you can't tease us like that. Like you can't.
Still
say
waiting for my box from Cool Stuff. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But
I'm not sure what that means.
whatever.
House of Shadow.
Slide into Aaron's DMs until you get blocked about that.
Until you say, things. All right, House of Shadow resub for 9 months. Thank you very much. Sub Baby Online must construct additional pylons. Absolutely. Punk Deadpool subscribe via Prime. Thank you very much. And I will hand it off to Ruben to talk about our bits.
What voice do you want me to do this one in? I had some requests that people wanted me to start doing I can do the announcer voice.
The
We wanna do that one?
1940s.
Yes.
Yeah, the 1930s. Live from the chat room here at Magic Mike Studios. Patchwork Wit gave us 4 bits. Mr. Lubu Flu with 10 bits. House of Shadow, his traditional 69 bits.
Ooh, giggity.
Nice. K-Dubs 2008, 200 bits. And Martin Kaser, 200 bits as well.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you guys so much for the subs
Thank
and
you.
for the bits. It helps us keep going, and that's great. So we're going to go ahead and turn the corner now to the finisher. It has been a week, y'all. Mythic Invitational, Mythic Edition, coverage going away, coverage coming back, Nexus, Pauper, the Judge Program, and by God, the Mountain Ghost. It's just like Hanukkah. A small quantity of news, oil, miraculously lit shows menorah for 8 crazy nights. So since we have not but 6 more days until the next Magic Mics, what, pray tell, do you think will be Magic's next major announcement? Aaron?
Well, thankfully, Wizards of the Coast will be combining 2 of my favorite things when they team up with VH1 and Logo to bring you Season 1 of RuPaul's Rootbound Craig Race. That was so good. I didn't even read it till
Oh my gosh. Ruben?
Well, in an effort to grow both brands' synergy, next Wednesday, be on the lookout for Hasbro's newest ambitious crossover when they announce the 2019 Mythic Hot Wheels Championship, which will be my absolute favorite format ever. All mono red haste aggro all the time.
Yep, all the time. Very nice. Well, look, with former Leapfrog VP Chris Cox currently at the helm as Wizard CEO, it should come as no surprise that the next huge announcement out of Renton will not be the banning the card, but instead the banning of anyone who plays Nexus of Fate with no other way to advance the board state in the brand new intersectional branded initiative, Leapfrog.
Nice.
Yes, the groans. And that ends
Real quickly, before we get there, I want to thank Draco Lucian, Thunder Voice 1, and Shrengar, who came in at the last second with more bits. Thank you guys so much.
Woo woo. Thank you. But that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thank you for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you, and see you next week on Magic Mics.
Okay. We'll move to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, share, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, Twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.